From the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C.
Hi, everybody. On behalf of the Library of Congress, I hope you're enjoying the 15th edition of the National Book Festival. I'm Abby Nolan, and I review children's books for the Washington Post, which has been a charter sponsor and enthusiastic supporter of the festival for all of these years. I'm very happy to introduce Gennifer Choldenko, who is best known for her trilogy set on Alcatraz Island that started with Al Capone Does My Shirts. In order to research that story, she became an Alcatraz tour guide and talked to people who had grown up there. After that book, which won a Newbery Honor Award, she followed up with Al Capone Shines My Shoes and Al Capone Does My Homework. Gennifer Choldenko has also written other great books, including the novel If a Tree Falls at Lunch Period, and she's written and illustrated several picture books. In the last few months, she has had two books published. One is a picture book called Putting the Monkeys to Bed, and the other is a novel, Chasing Secrets, which is set in San Francisco itself during the early 20th century. Please help me welcome the author, all the way from California, Gennifer Choldenko.
Thank you guys. Ooh, thank you guys so much for coming out. I really appreciate it. I'm going to go, I guess you can see the screens. I'm going to talk about Chasing Secrets, and then I'm hoping to have time to have a little improv with the kids. So I want to get going so we can do that. I got the idea from this book, from a nonfiction book about rats. One of the fun things about getting to be a children's author is I get to read the books I love to read, and I get to read the books that my characters love to read. So Jimmy Manaman from the Al Capone books was interested in rats, so I started reading this book, and I found out there was a plague outbreak in San Francisco in 1900. And I thought, whoa, that is too cool. So I started digging, trying to find out more information about it. But soon I discovered that it was like really complicated, and I got kind of scared, so I put it on the back burner until I read this book, The Barbary Plague, which really helped me focus the research. And it had a great bibliography that gave me a roadmap for how to find out stuff. Now, the plague is transferred by fleas on rats. And I'm always trying, I get a lot of ideas, and I was about to try and sell this to my editor. So I was hurrying up the street in New York to meet her at this fancy restaurant. When I got there, there was that rat, a 10-foot tall, inflated rat was there. Because it turns out there was a labor dispute, and so they rent this rat. But I thought, wow, that is a sign. It's a sign I'm supposed to do this. So I got really excited. She thought I was crazy, because I'm always looking for a sign that of what direction to go. So I'm going to tell you a little about what it was like in San Francisco in 1900. What if women who worked outside the home were considered a danger to themselves and their families? What if the fastest automobile in the world only went 7 miles an hour? What if wealthy railroad barons and new silver and gold millionaires ruled the city? The big white guys that did what they wanted. This is actually the Palace Hotel, which still exists in San Francisco, and I have a scene there. What if the Chinese were treated very, very badly? That was actually horrible, doing that research. I mean, of course, I knew the Chinese were treated badly, but when you read about it in, all the editorials, this all-consuming sense of patronization just drove me crazy. My daughter is Chinese, so I took it really, really personally. Chinatown in 1900. What if you got sick and didn't dare go to the hospital? Turns out the last place you wanted to go in 1900 was the hospital. If you were pregnant and you went to the hospital, you were twice as likely to die during childbirth. Really, we didn't know hardly anything. And so it was shocking to realize how really far we've come. This is what they told you to do. Cocaine, toothache drops were prevalent. Carter's little liver pills, which were sugar pills that you got for everything. Manhood was restored also by sugar pills. What if people thought bad smells caused disease? Yeah, they did, strangely enough. What if there were dead rats everywhere? There was one restaurant I researched. There were 87 dead rats in the walls. Many of them had the plague. And when they finally got rid of the plague in San Francisco, it was because they got rid of the rats. So this is San Francisco circa 1900. The year, strangely enough, it was the year of the rat. And what it looked like. So the plague did come to San Francisco, and everybody wanted to deny it. The Chinese wanted to deny it because in Honolulu, the plague had come, and the white guys burnt down Chinatown. So they didn't want that to happen in San Francisco. The rich white guys didn't want it to happen because it was bad for touristry. It was bad. People didn't want to take the railroads here. Everybody wanted to deny that it was here. But it did come. It came from actually Honolulu. A couple rats went on board a ship and they scurried onto the dock in San Francisco. That was in January 1st. And March 6th, the first man died. Now, the quarantine officer, Dr. Kenyon, he realized that it was the plague, and he got the plague out of the man, and he injected it into 2 rats, guinea pigs, and a monkey. And he said, if those animals died, that confirms that it was the plague. But he was a really hated guy. Nobody liked him. He was really arrogant and abrasive. And so the animals began to die, and everyone said he had killed them to show that his position was correct. So there they are. He even quarantined Chinatown at that point. But it was such a bigoted time that the Chinese were not allowed to leave Chinatown, but white guys were, as if white guys couldn't get the plague. Now, the President of the United States and the Governor, Gage, all confirmed there was no plague in San Francisco. And so did the Surgeon General and the heads of 3 medical schools. So everybody said the plague wasn't there. And so in my book, I created a daughter of a doctor who realized what was going on. Because I believe kids around 10, 11, 12 years old, they can see what is happening sometimes in a way that adults can't. Okay, I just want to move forward a little bit. So, but what happened to the monkey? And that is the question that you'll need to read the book to answer. So the first hero actually was a translator, and he was the one that figured out what was going on and began to work on behalf of communicating to both sides what was happening. And the second hero was Dr. Rupert Blue, who came after Kenyon, and he also started to see what was happening. This is actually my family, and the reason I have this up there is because I really felt that as I said, when I was 12, I understood things that adults didn't. Raise your hand if you're a kid and you think kids know better than adults. Yeah, exactly. Okay, this is the title that was the title in the UK. Wonderful little our fathers knew, half of their remedies cured you dead. Now, one of the early remedies for the plague, remember I said that they thought bad smells caused the disease? And so they thought, well, maybe a hair off the dog that bit you, maybe bad smells would cure diseases. So you were to fart in a jar and seal it up really tightly and then smell it every few hours. Now that sounds really ridiculous, but strangely enough, in the 21st century, we now have implants of poop to solve colitis. So basically, if you have colitis, then you might get poop from someone who is healthier, and then they implant it in you, and the bacteria from the healthy person grows inside of you. So this is the 21st century, and so that seems as crazy to me as farting in a jar. But apparently it works. Okay, a lot of my books are about who do you trust. And so I'm going to show you some pictures, and maybe you could tell me if you think this is a good guy or a bad guy. Now, adults will probably recognize, so this is more for kids. Good guy, bad guy? Bad guy, yes, Bernie Madoff. Good guy, bad guy? You guys know. Kids don't. Walt Disney, yeah. Good guy, bad guy? Good guy, John Steinbeck. So you really can't tell by looking at someone. Good guy, bad guy? Good guy? Bad guy? Bad guy. This is actually from the Al Capone series, the Count Lustig, who sold the Eiffel Tower, even though he didn't own it, twice. Okay, what I'd like to do is to have some kids up here, because I'm going to do a little improv. First, I want, let's see, what do I need first? Well, first, I think we're going to come up with some ideas. What we're going to do, since this book is very much about diseases, and it's about how to know how to handle diseases before medical science has caught up to it. Like in my lifetime, Ebola came to be, and we didn't know what to do about that. AIDS, we are now starting to figure out. But so I'm interested in that, and I think there's something about that in this book. So somebody raise their hand and tell me a color. Okay. Pink. Okay. Now I need an object. A paintbrush. Okay, so we have a pink paintbrush. And so we have the pink paintbrush disease. Somebody want to raise their hand and tell me what part of your body swells during the pink paintbrush disease? Your hand. Oh, you get your left hand or your right hand? Both hands. Okay, you get swollen hands in the pink paintbrush disease. Now, at what percentage of the time is it fatal? All the time. Okay, well, let's say 99%. How's that? Because otherwise it won't work. Okay. Now, someone want to come up here, raise your hand, and if you have the sound that is made during when you die from the pink paintbrush disease. Okay, come on up here. Okay, what's the sound you make? like demonstrate how you might fall or anything like that? Okay.
Yeah.
I need you up here. You stay up here, okay? All right. So we have the sound, and we have how often it's 99% fatal. Okay. So now we need someone who is very talkative to sell us on an immunization. Okay, you in the back. Right there. You come on up here. You're going to wear the lab coat. Okay, you need to put the lab coat on, all right? And you are going to sell us on the orange immunization for the pink paintbrush disease, which gives you these terrible swollen hands. Okay, let's get you official here. All right, turn around. Wait, okay. Now, so you're going to sell us. Now, what would you say to sell someone on something? Why does it work? How much does it cost? Are there other doctors that recommend it? Stuff like that.
It would cost $300.
It would cost $300. Okay, excellent. What else? Why would I want it? Does it work?
Maybe.
Maybe. Does it have any side effects?
Side effects may include nausea, sickness, death.
Very good. Okay, so side effects may include nausea, sickness, and death. Give or take. Okay. All right, you stand over here. I'm going to borrow your lab coat here. You keep the orange. Would someone else like to come up here? Someone who's really talkative. Okay, you. You're going to put on the lab coat. And let's see where's the white one? I don't know where the white one went. Oh, here it is. Okay. Here you go. And you're going to sell us on the white immunization, why it's better than the orange. Okay? So, you turn around, start talking.
It is healthier for you and it costs cheaper. It is $100 because it is really easy to catch.
Easy to catch, yeah, okay. So there's a live element to it?
The side effects are just not going to school, so most of you kids might want to take that.
The side effect is not going to school. I love it, okay.
And throwing up.
And what?
Throwing up.
And throwing up. Oh, not going to school and throwing up. Okay, excellent. All right, now we're going to vote. So you have this terrible pink paintbrush disease with two swollen hands. Are you going to vote for the orange immunization? Raise your hand. You have to vote for one. Okay. All right. Are you going to vote for the white immunization? Just 1 second. Yeah, you're allowed to vote, yeah. Okay, all right, so it looks like we had more for the white, which is not surprising. And then you, since you're up here, and you're going to put, this is the future, because we really don't know until now. And you're going to pick something out of it. And ooh, you got, whoops. Which one you want? Okay. So which one is it? You announce.
Orange.
Orange, okay. So all of you that raise your hand for white, 99% of you are going to die. And so we're going to have to all die together. So let's, do you want to lead us in the death call? Okay, let's help them. Okay, excellent. That was fantastic, you guys. Okay.
It is also a privilege
Okay. That was excellent. I think I need the lab coat, but thank you very much. You guys were fantastic. Thank you. All right, you can sit down. Okay, do you guys have any questions for me about my writing process, about any of my books, about chasing secrets, anything anything you want to ask? Pretty much, except, okay. Oh, okay, there's a mic up here. Can you come up to, there we go.
Where did you get the inspiration for your book, No Passengers Beyond This Point?
Where did I get the inspiration for No Passengers Beyond This Point? Well, sometimes it's easy to know. Like I got, this Chasing Secrets came from the Rat book. It was really clear. No Passengers, I really don't know. I was traveling a lot, and I missed my family. I was traveling a lot to promote the Al Capone books. I really missed my family. And my dog tried to dig out of the den. And so it's like little bits and pieces of my life sometimes show up in a book, but I don't know exactly where the idea came from. I just started writing one day with those characters, and I did not know where it was going to go. I've never written a book quite that way before. It was really interesting. Thank you. Okay.
How many books did you write?
How many books have I written or gotten published? Because I wrote a lot of books in between my first and second book, trying to get a second book published. But this year I have 12 books out that are already published. I have contracts for 3 more. So I'm busy at work on more of them. That is absolutely the fun part. I love to get to write the books. Okay.
What was your favorite book that you wrote?
My favorite book is always the one I'm working on right this second, because once I write them, they go out into the world. But certainly the best known book that I've written is Al Capone Does My Shirts. So I don't know which is my favorite. There are different things I like about different ones. It's a good question.
Have you ever written something just for fun and then actually turned it into a book?
Have I ever written anything just for fun and not to put into a book?
No, like turned it into a book.
And then turned it into a book? That's an interesting question. I really feel like I always write just for fun. I mean, it is fun. That's why I do it, And so I don't always know where something is leading, absolutely. And so, but I do, now that I'm published and I have to make a living, I do have in the back of my mind turning this into a book. But when I was younger, before I decided to do this, I wrote more for whatever.
Do you have a favorite topic writing about or a favorite character in one of your books?
Do I have a favorite topic?
Or a character?
Or character? Well, there are characters I'm really partial to. Mouse and No Passengers Beyond This Point. Teresa Madiman in the Al Capone books. I like because they are both bratty little sisters, and I was a bratty little sister, so that worked for me.
So am I.
Did you hear that? She said, "So am I." Yeah. Okay, we're kindred spirit.
Why did you want to write about Alcatraz, and what made you write about Alcatraz?
Why did I want to write about Alcatraz? Well, I had written this one picture book and got it published, and I could not get another book published to save my soul. So I was looking for a unique idea that I thought would be different than every other book. And so I read the paper one day, and there was Alcatraz in the news. And it talked about people who lived on Alcatraz because their parents were guards there. And I didn't realize that kids grew up on Alcatraz when the bad guys also were incarcerated there. And as soon as I saw that, I thought, wow, I want to be one of those people. Because as you can see, I'm just a boring middle-aged lady. And I'm always trying to look for kids' lives that are really exciting and to try and live through them. So the way I get to be someone other than myself is to write a book about them. So I got really excited. I immediately signed up to work on the island because I lived near enough that I could, and it gave me all kinds of information.
What inspired you to be a writer, and what did you do to become a writer?
Oh, that's an hour lecture. What inspired me to be a writer? I think partly my father. It was not his job, but he used to come home from work, and then he would put on his comfortable clothes, and he would sit down behind a big old typewriter, and he would start writing. And I saw that he thought it was fun. So I thought, well, I'll give it a try. So I think he inspired it, and it turns out I loved to do it. I wrote my first book in 3rd grade. It was called The Adventures of Jenny Rice. It was about a grain of rice that went down the garbage disposal, and all the characters she met down there. The half a grapefruit lady, the coffee grounds man. It was very peculiar, but it was very fun to write. I remember how fun that was. What is your favorite food?
Pasta.
Pasta. Okay. Well, you know, maybe your mom prepares a wonderful pasta. That's your favorite, spaghetti or whatever. And then that first bite, how great that is. Yeah. That is the way it is to get new ideas. That's the way it feels to me. Yeah. You must be a writer. Yeah. Good for you.
Do you have a favorite author?
Do I have a favorite author? I have lots of favorite authors. As a kid, I loved Roald Dahl and Frank L. Baum. I loved Harriet the Spy's, Louise Fitzhugh, and Frances Hodgson Burnett. Now I love Rebecca Stead. I love Lois Lowry. I love, J.K. Rowling. It's hard to have just one. I mean, do you just have one?
No.
Yeah, it's impossible. It's impossible. Okay. All right, other question?
What are your ideas for your next book?
What are the ideas for my next book? That's a good question. I like that. You're thinking ahead. Well, I don't usually talk about books while I'm writing them because I'm afraid you'll go like this or you'll go like that, and then I'll get worried about the ideas. So I always keep them quiet. What is the idea for your next book?
I
Oh,
don't know
yeah.
yet.
See, you don't like to tell either. I think, yeah. Okay. Okay. I think there's time for one last question.
What's your favorite book?
My favorite book that I've written or that I've read?
Read.
Oh, again, that's too hard. There's so many great books. But I would have to say, certainly Charlotte's Web is pretty high up there. Loved Charlotte's Web. Okay, thank you guys so much. It was wonderful to have you.
This has been a presentation of the Library of Congress. Visit us at loc.gov.